Hi everyone and welcome back to the YouTube channel. So I thought I will not film any more about these B6, B7 models until we have a customer, Jordan, which booked the car with us just for a timing chain replacement, and he did mention how much he actually paid for his B7 S4 Avant, and I was a bit of a shocked how much he actually paid in the condition what we find it was. The car is already gone. I didn't have the opportunity to film too much about the car because he was on time on Saturday, so he took the car before I actually have time to film anything. But we have still few S4s in the yard, so I will try to explain you and show you if you're interested to buy one of these S4 B7s or B6 V8, what to actually look at when it comes to engines and probably the bodywork as well, what to look at. When you're buying one of these, make sure before you actually come down the engine wasn't started, so you can check the timing chains. Definitely ask for a receipt if the chains were done, to actually have a proof that they were really replaced. Otherwise you might end up with a big bill, and we have experience with even cars with low mileage might struggle with the issue with the timing chains when the bracket is broken or the camshaft adjusters are worn out. Okay guys, so step one, before you even actually come down to check the car, ask the seller if the timing chains were done. If they were not done, any mileage, you might look in about £3,000 to £4,000 bill to actually get them repaired. Second thing, definitely ask for a service history. More service history better, so you know what was actually done to the car and what probably will need sorting. Step number three, if you actually viewing the car, make sure the car wasn't started and is still cold, so you can actually check the timing chain rattle on a cold start. If it's just a couple of seconds, it's sort of normal. If it's more than 3 or 4 seconds, you definitely should be concerned that the chains will need doing soon. If you will start the car and it sounds like this, it's probably all good. And if you're gonna start the car and it will sound like this, I will definitely walk away because big bill is coming. Once you start up the car and you're sort of happy with it, definitely do inspection from the top and the bottom if it's possible. If there's any oil leaks, remember it's not just the oil what's leaking, but it's also disintegrating all the rubber pipes and hoses from the coolant, even fuel system, and you might have actually more problems than just an oil leak on the end of the day. This is an engine what still needs doing, and you can tell there are oil leaks. You don't actually need any special tools these days. Every phone have a camera, and straight away we can tell there are loads of oil leaks. So pretty much you can inspect the whole engine from the top just with your phone, like I did now. And we know this engine have loads of oil leaks, so obviously quite loads of gaskets will need replacing in the near future. So underneath this plastic cover is a vacuum solenoid, which should actually move when you're gonna start the engine, and this one didn't. So it's seized up and you know it's definitely need doing. Also in the engine bay the temperatures are quite high, so you can check the coolant tank. Usually it starts cracking from the bottom from all the heat, and you might have a coolant leak even from the reservoir. You don't even actually have to put the car on the ramp. All you need is just a service jack to lift the car up a bit to check it from underneath, even the suspension from the front and the rear, to make sure everything is in good condition. If not, again, get ready. Suspension arms are about £500 to £600 to get it replaced, and you have to get the tracking done afterwards. If the car actually have under tray and you have oil leaks, oil dripping like this, you can tell there's a massive oil leak. So this is probably not the best spec. Just to compare, a car was not actually leaking that much. Again, I'm just using my phone to actually inspect the suspension on the B7, and you can tell straight away that the rubber actually have cracks, so probably the suspension will need doing. Once you're sort of happy with the mechanical side of the car, you can move on to the exterior of the vehicle. Definitely check for rust spots. When it comes to the red cars, like we have one behind, it's very common that it has a lacquer peel, so you might even end up with a full respray. The common spots on these B6 and B7s are the wings, which are actually rusty because nobody really cleaned them from inside of the edge, and you might even end up with a replacement. And when you have a funny color like a silver one, it needs blending, so you might end up with half of the car to be sprayed. You can see the black one has a rusty wing, it's rusty on the other side as well. And we have the same issue about B6 over here, so it is a common fault on these. They are getting rusty and you might end up with a new wing, unfortunately. So this is another spot where usually the cars are getting rusty on the roof because nobody is cleaning the dirt from behind the trim. So definitely check left and right if you don't want to have further issues afterwards. This one looks fine. So another common issue is the bottom hinge used to wear out and you have to shut the door like this, otherwise sitting down a bit. So if that's the issue, you will have to replace this hinge on the doors, which is the common fault. When you check the exterior of the car, you can move on to the interior, and this is what to look at. So once you check the car from outside and you're sort of happy and you didn't walk away yet, we get to the interior of the vehicle. So another common fault is the headliner. Yes, for some reason the glue is not holding the headliner in place and you have to remove it fully. So the A, B and C pillars gotta be removed, and you gotta find a company or someone who can actually trim it. So another common issue. Once we're in the car, we're just gonna put the key in the first position, make sure all the lights will come on, especially the engine light. I've seen a few S4s when the engine light was actually deleted and people didn't spot it and there were fault codes already, but if there's no engine light, you can't tell there are fault codes. Sometimes the engine is running pretty much fine until it will go to the limp mode. Also, check the whole car around the interior, check all the buttons if they're working. Definitely start the car up and try absolutely everything. So from the heating control, especially the air conditioning. So now it's off, now should be on. As you can tell, this one is not working, so probably the gas is not in the system or the AC compressor is dead. All of these repairs might be quite expensive. I know the compressor genuine one is like over £1,000. You can get a refurbished unit for a couple of hundred, but still it's a big job because it's hidden on the side of the engine. You have to remove the engine mount and it's actually driven by an Allen key from the timing chain, so it is a difficult job to do. Okay, so let's move to the particular car what we actually start filming for Jordan, B7 S4 Avant. He paid for the vehicle £4,000, and this is the stage of the car what you will see in a minute. So this is the S4 we'll be working on, and this is the one where I actually decided to film the video. Engine sounds fine, so from this point of view all good. We're just going to put PG product in very quickly and we'll leave the engine running while we're going to lift it up. While the engine is running, we did notice the PCV valve is making some funny noises and it definitely will need replacing. So the car's on the ramp. As you can tell, the suspension arms are not in the best condition, so that will be replaced. We will get a whole kit, and from the under tray you can tell this will be a troublemaker. Oil leaks again absolutely everywhere, from the top, from the side. It's even leaking from the water pump, which is a common problem on these because it's driven by the Allen key and the O-rings will let go over the years. So we will get a new water pump with thermostat housing as well. The front mount is just disintegrated from all the oil, it's just falling apart, so we will have to get a new front mount. The exhaust clamps are rotten, we will have to cut them and replace them, and we can finally drain the oil and coolant. Okay, so will you spot the problem? Do you see the problem? Yes. Problem? No, there's the problem. Drive belt is not fitted correctly. That should be from the top. So this is for in such a sad stage that even the spider died from sorrow, and we will move on to the ECU cover, which actually have a crack, and unfortunately all the water gets inside of it underneath the relays and fuses. So once everything was disconnected, we will remove the engine very quickly and we will continue with the disaster. Oil leaks again everywhere in the middle of the engine, so we will remove the middle cover and replace the valves as well. Internals looks cool, looks good, but we did find more issues again. Reverse sensor is melted from the exhaust, the engine mount is broken, the CV boots are split left and right, and once we remove the timing chain cover, again the plastic guide is broken, and this was very close to a failure. Don't worry, more bad news is coming up. The camshaft adjusters are worn out as well, so £1,000,000 later, and we have a new timing chain installed onto the engine. If you want to know how the timing chains and the camshaft adjuster were installed on this particular engine, there is a whole video on YouTube. I will leave the link in the description. Okay, so I still have to clean the engine from the front. The reason why I didn't do it before, I wasn't sure if Jordan actually want to continue with the whole job, because there were so many extra issues what we have to sort out, which went a bit out of control with the budget. But he did want to continue on the end, so we will have to clean the engine and continue with the rest. So next up we are removing the water pump along with the thermostat housing. We will have to replace these two O-ring seals for the oil and for the coolant, so there are no more leaks. And we will have to sort out the middle of the engine, where is this huge metal gasket which will be replaced, and there are 3 oil check valves. Definitely one of them was faulty. That's why he had the timing chain rattle when the engine was warm. We also replaced the metal gaskets for the intake manifold, because somebody glued them down with the silicone and the paint was peeling off as well. And we still have to replace the PCV valve and clean the breather pipes because there's too much moisture. 2 CV boots coming on, and we're also installing the new clutch kit, which is an RS4 clutch with a pressure plate. The melted reverse sensor was replaced, and we also repaired the connector from the loom. So once the engine was installed, we still have to repair the connector for the headlight level sensor, which was broken. The new clamps for the exhaust were installed along with the suspension. So we're just finishing a few bits and bobs, but you can tell the engine looks much fresher. Please guys, bear in mind this is a 15-year-old S4, so this engine was never out, and unfortunately after all these years it needs doing. And we are done. Here's the car out of the workshop. So this is what we replaced: timing chain kit, camshaft adjusters, oil check valves, water pump with thermostat housing, driver side engine mount, front engine mount, 2 CV boots, ECU cover, AC radiator, front suspension kit and a clutch kit. Once everything was replaced, you can finally call this car officially an Audi S4. The car actually left now. Jordan was happy with it. We've done the suspension arms, the whole engine, clutch and whatever needs replacing. His total bill was just £6,000. I know it's too much money, but we changed quite loads of parts which are still expensive on this. And if you're thinking we are millionaires by fixing these old B6, B7s, well, obviously on this particular job our clear profit wasn't even £2,000. But that's life. So we can be happy we saved another S4. Jordan is happy that his S4 is back on the road as it should be, in the condition as it should be. And by my easy calculations, he paid £4,000 for the car, plus he spent 6, and it still needs doing some small bits and bobs here and there. So mathematically, I would probably look for a very high, good spec and clean S4, what doesn't need doing nothing at all, than be spending the money on the car after you purchase it for a bit of a higher price. Your second option might be, when you don't want to spend fortune buying one, you can look for one which is sold as a spares or repairs with the issue already. And it's massive difference when you're buying the car for £1,500 or even £2,000 and you're spending the money on it and you know what's actually done afterwards. Definitely think about it. So that's all for this video, guys. I hope you enjoy it, and I'm really hoping it will be helpful for some of you who are actually looking for one of these B7s or B6 S4s, and I'll see you next video.